Now, Chris, it might be very easy here to take the narrow view and say, oh my God, more coma victims. Oh, how terrible, blah, 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 blah. Chris, I still think that's the narrow view, because they're stuck in their happiest memories.
In my last video, I debuted what I called the ZEC9. If you haven't seen it yet, watch it. I use Zero Echo 9 as a name for the audio forensics work that I do. The setup that I debuted makes weaponized audio audible to everyone. I also stated my worries in the last video. Worries that this would be used by paranormal jibe chuckers to cast more delusions on the naive public. People that want to believe. What we are dealing with is not paranormal. And I was thinking about the name and decided that it needed the longest name possible, not to be pretentious, to assert that this has nothing to do with ghosts or goblins, something that couldn't be misinterpreted or intentionally twisted for deception. It would be easy for some ghost huckster out there to twist Zero Echo 9 as some paranormal tool. I can hear it now.
It's zero because you can't normally hear it. It's an echo of the dead, and it took the paranormal investigator 9 years to finish it.
Some shit like that, and I won't allow that to happen. All the bases need to be covered, because it will be reverse engineered and turned into a tool of deception, and I'm not willing to let that happen. With all that said, Zero Echo 9, which is me, will be the parent. And the longest and most detailed name I could possibly give it is the Subliminal Psychic Driving, Surveillance and Weaponized Acoustic Technology Recognition and Alert Tool, or the SPD SWAT Rat for short. This long-winded wording ensures that anyone looking into this will be forced to face what this is intended to do right from the second they lay eyes on the name. This is one of the many steps that I'm going to be taking to make sure that this process stays on track. And it will be a long process. I'm not just handing over a decade's worth of work for it to be subverted and turned into a paranormal app or used incorrectly to discredit the entire mission. Besides, there's still a lot of work to do. At this point in time, I'm just showing people that it works as I do experiments with it. So I was thinking about how I could use this to prove that voice hearers weren't actually mentally ill. And I was thinking about who I was going to test this on locally and how to find someone, which will happen. But I was also thinking about another aspect of this, and I've said this for years, that this is an AI surveillance system. A system that can understand what is going on in an area, a building, a home, anywhere, by the sounds it's picking up. And there's a reason for that. 7 or 8 years ago, I was doing audio tests when I heard what sounded like something commenting how many steps were being taken on a hardwood floor. And this happened numerous times, but even though that I could hear it clearly and I knew it was there, I couldn't use it as evidence because it was too buried, too noisy, or too garbled to prove. And it's been frustrating knowing that these things exist, but not having the solid proof that was necessary to really back it up. This is no longer the case, because over the past few days I've used the ZEC9 SWAT Rat to run a bunch of experiments. And in this video I'm going to show you proof that this weaponized surveillance system is monitoring everything and everyone by sound. Like the ear of God, if you will. This is no different than your phone's sensors using metadata or high-frequency beaconing to figure out what a person is doing at any point in time. Google is tracking you even when you're in airplane mode. It knows when you get out of the car. It knows everything. This is no different, except this is an open-air surveillance system. We are all walking within the field, and it is listening. However, it is also weaponized, so people can hear it when they're sensitized to it. And this is what these voice hearers are hearing. But before we get into this, let me state a few things, and I should do this in every video. I've been working with this type of audio for over a decade. I'm not a voice hearer. I do not hear these voices until they are played back in the recordings. I am not special. The areas in which I did these initial tests are not special. These voices can be picked up anywhere, commenting on what's happening within the surroundings. And I've proven that in many videos in the past. The only difference now is they have never been this clear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few strange anomalies that I found when I was doing tests after the original test that I showed in the last video. And then I'm going to prove that it is monitoring what is going on in real time. Before I started trying the actual surveillance tests, I was just doing the recording what was going on in the room like I did the first time in the last video. I had been going over some 9/11 stuff, and I was watching a specific documentary about 9/11, and then hours later I did a recording test with, nothing on in the house. I turn everything completely off. Then I just record. So there's no computers, no radios, there's nothing playing. No phones, playing audio, nothing. Everybody who's seen my videos, they know how this works. So I don't even need to convince you of this, it's so clear. A voice is going to come in and it's going to say September 11th. I was just watching this documentary a couple hours before that. So check this out.
September 11th.
So it comes in, it says September 11th.
September 11th.
Then a voice comes in here. It says, we can't stop right now. Then it says, what about the shooting? So September 11th.
September 11th.
Then we can't stop right now. Then what about the shooting? Very, very strange, right? It's amazing how clear this stuff is. I've heard this once in a while, but you started to hear almost threatening stuff, right? These voices are strange. The inflection is weird. It is clearly an artificial voice. These are pulsed voices. I've always said that. This proves it. It's not paranormal. This is technology. We will get into that as we go through this video. Here, a voice says, we've got to do it. And then it says, we're going to shoot him. And then it says here, the dog will charge you.
Dog will charge you. Dog will charge you.
Once you're in the house.
Dog will charge you.
The dog will charge you once you're in the house.
Dog will charge you.
Pretty crazy. Then a voice says here, that guy fucked with our secret.
They fucked with our secret. They fucked with our secret. They fucked with our secret. They fucked with our secret.
It almost sounds a little Down syndrome-y.
They fucked with our secret. They fucked with our secret.
That guy fucked with our secret. Now this one is very crazy. It reminds me of Psychic Driving. There was the case where they told the guy, for months that his mother was dead or he killed his mother, right? This one says, you killed my wife. Check it out. You killed my wife. Let's loop it for a minute. That is just like Psychic Driving. Exactly. And this one was taken in the middle of the night. But it doesn't matter. You can catch these all day. Now, this one is very interesting. When you listen to it, it says he can prove it's human speech. And I was very surprised to catch this. Check it out. I'll play you prove it's human speech. Prove it's human speech. So he can prove it's human speech. And then a voice comes in here that's really strange, and it says, we're making sure of it. I'll play making sure of it. So he can prove it's human speech. Very strange. Now, there was baby talk in the last video I did. I picked this up in the middle of the night, and a voice comes in here, and it says, you better have the baby. As you can tell, it's not a real human being. This is a pulsed communication. We're going to get to the surveillance part, though, so hang in there. I need to show you these, though. Now, this voice comes in, and it says, he'll never be a victim. He'll He'll never be a victim. Very strange. This one is really weird that I caught. The mic was on the far end of my house, and it says here, the victim is now having a dream. Here's the victim. Is now. And then having a dream. Very strange. Now, this one is very, very important. A voice says here, you can take him. You can take him. Then to finish the sentence, it says, back to the temple. You can take him back to the temple. Now, this is important. This is very, very important, because what did Terry Davis make? What did God tell him to make? Temple OS. Okay? This is important. You can take him back to the temple. Now, Jason Dalton, the Uber driver, he got a job with Uber to save enough money to take his family on vacation. Totally normal guy. Began to hear voices, right? And then he believed that all these people were flashing black bags and that they were going to temple. That's what he was being told via the voice. And that's not that far from here where he was hearing that. So it says, you can take him back to the temple. Now let's listen to what Jason Dalton had to say when he freaked out in court.
They gave bags, these old people, they had these old black bags. They're called they're black bags, and people drive around and you look at them. It gets real, like, hey, it's time, people look, and then that's when to tell people it's time to get to temple.
That when it's time to get to temple.
That's when to tell people it's time to get to temple. And then that's when to tell people it's time to get to temple. That's
what he was hearing. And what does this say? It says you can take him back to the temple. Think about it. This voice says they'll never hear the noise. Now, somebody comically said, what if this is another dimension? It's not another dimension. These are man-made frequencies. These are not paranormal in any way. And if that's what's come to mind, it's just because you haven't investigated enough. This proves it. Here you can hear the technology running behind the voices. Let me play this for you for a minute. It's technology. That sounds like a broken fax machine, doesn't it? Here's another one where it sounds like the system almost messed up for a couple seconds. So let's check this out. Technology, not paranormal. Now, let's get into the surveillance. I'm going to prove to you that it is monitoring things. What I did was I set up a microphone in the hallway. Then I began to do things. Turn on the sink, turn on the shower. I walked up and down the hall, accentuating my footsteps. I started playing with some toys that were around the house, some things that I had that make distinct noises to see what it would do, okay? It responds, and I knew it responded. I've known that for years, but I couldn't prove it. Here, I'm going to prove it to you. Now, there's a few excellent examples of this. I'm going to take 10 steps here. Let's listen to it. 10 steps. A voice is going to come in here that sounds like a broken speak and spell, and it's going to say 10 steps. Let's listen to it. 10 steps. 10 steps. 10 steps. 10 steps. But it gets better. It starts talking about my left foot. I do another trip down the hallway, okay? And then the voice comes in and says left foot, flat-footed. Check it out.
Left foot, flat-footed.
Left foot, flat-footed.
Left foot.
Left foot.
Left foot. Left foot.
Flat-footed.
Flat-footed. Flat-footed.
Flat-footed, because they're pulsed communications. Left foot, flat-footed.
Left foot, flat-footed. left foot, flat-footed.
As far as I know, my left foot isn't flat-footed, but very strange, right? Very, very strange. It is monitoring and commenting on what is going on in the house. So in this one, I walk, I take a few steps, and I stop, and it says, which feet, left foot.
Between left foot. Between left foot.
Left foot.
Left foot. Left foot.
It's undeniable. It's undeniable. Steps and then left foot. Problem is, I've known this for years, but I couldn't prove it.
Between left foot.
Left foot. It is commenting on walking, and it all has to do with walking when I'm doing the walking test. Now, what I did was I got an airsoft gun out that is a replica. It is so close to a real pistol. The slide sounds identical to a real pistol, okay? And I would slide the slide back, hit the slide release, let it go. And I would do it over and over. I wanted to see if it could recognize a weapon. I brought the slide back, and a voice, a whisper, is going to go bang, bang. Bang, bang. So there's one. There's a few of them. You need to hear it. And this one I'm going to rack it. And it's going to say, I kept shooting. And then it's going to say suicide here. So I rack it. Then it's going to say, I kept shooting.
Kept shooting. Kept shooting.
Then it's going to say suicide. This is really, really messed up. It doesn't know it's an airsoft, but it recognizes that it's a weapon. This one, I'm going to rack it, and then there are a couple seconds of empty space, and then it comes in and it says, you need to kill him.
Need to kill him. Need to kill him. Need to kill him.
Need to kill him.
Need to kill him. Need to kill him. Need to kill him.
So there you go. It's undeniable. It's undeniable. Everything that is said has something to do with what is being done. Now think about this. Really think about this. So this 100% has to do with what is going on in the room. If there is something to monitor, it monitors it. And I'm going to prove this more and more as time goes by now. I forgot to show this earlier. This is from another test. And I can't find the other audio clip, but it says something about proof. And then it says, you will be dead. So I'm going to play that right now. You will be dead.
You will be dead. You will be dead. You will be dead. You will be dead.
You will be dead.
You will be dead.
So, you know, it's threatening. There's a lot of stuff going on. Backing up everything from the last video and going even further, that this is a surveillance system and it will comment on what you are doing. And my next step is to find a voice hearer and prove that they aren't mentally ill. And we will get there. But in the meantime, ghosts and interdimensional beings do not talk surveillance and do not talk about what you are doing. This is technology. It is monitoring what people are doing. I'm not special. It is monitoring what is going on. And that's it for now. Look out for Charlie.